Forbidden of Tumbang Tangkai, a short story written by Anita and Irene Alia Setiawati. There is a place in a small village along the Baritu River that no one is allowed to enter, not because of what lives inside it, but because of what people choose to believe without ever asking why. This is a story of a girl named Maharati and how that belief destroyed everything she loved. Her name was Maharati, but everyone called her Ati. She had just finished her law degree in Palangkaraya, and after 4 years away, she was finally coming home. Home to Lampang village, a quiet village sitting along the banks of the Baritu River, where she had grown up, where everything still moved at the same slow and hurried pace it always had. At Loksampuraga, the crossing point where the villagers waited for the ferry, she ran into Lamyang. They hadn't seen each other since high school, when they'd gone their separate ways for college. 4 years of packed schedules and different academic calendars had slowly pulled them apart without either of them noticing. But standing there at the crossing, it felt like no time had passed at all. They talked for nearly 30 minutes before they ever realized the ferry had arrived. On board, Ati spotted a familiar face at the helm. Jenta, son of Abah Rudi, a childhood friend who had taken over the village ferry from his older brother. The same crossing, the same river, the same paces, just a few years older. When the ferry docked, Ati waited at the pier for her father while Lamyang headed home. The village was already busy, men hauling wood and equipment toward the downstream end, and Ati asked Jenta what was going on.
Oh, Dad! It's almost time for the Tolak Bala ceremony. You forget? It's held every year.
The Tolak Bala, the annual village ritual toward of misfortune, to keep the village safe and well. And as always, the one leading it was Damang Saduri, the village elder, the most respected man in Lampang village, the man whose words no one ever thought to question. Her father arrived not long after, and they rode home through the familiar roads. Her mother was waiting at the door.
Ate! Anak ba untong batuah ko?
She led Ati inside and immediately handed her a plate. Fried manday and grilled patin, her favorites, already prepared and waiting. And for a moment, everything felt exactly as it should. A week passed. Life was quiet. Help in the kitchen, sit on the porch, watch the river go by. Then one morning, her mother woke her up at 4 in the morning.
Ti! Get up! Come on, get ready!
Ati grabbed her phone. Still 4 in the morning. She rolled back over. Her mother's voice came back louder.
Ati! I'm counting to 3. If you're not up, I'm pouring water on you.
She had no choice. Her mother explained while getting ready for Subuh prayers. This morning was the community work session for the Tolak Bala ceremony. Everyone was helping. Ati would help too. By the time they arrived at the downstream end of the village, the field was already alive with movement. The men set up the space like speakers, carpets, and decorations, and the women handled food like cutting fruit, making sarabi, cooking bubur ashura. An hour passed without Ati noticing. She was in the middle of shredding chicken when Lamyang appeared beside her, grinning. They ended up carrying tea together to the men's area, and on the way back, someone called out to them.
Ati? Lamyang?
They turned. A tall, well-built man was walking toward them. It was Bagaw, the son of Damang Saduri, a familiar face from their school days, still carrying the same easy confidence he always had. They exchanged greetings, laughed about old memories, and went their separate ways. Like Ati back to the food prep, Bagaw toward the man, where she could clearly see Damang Saduri laughing and clapping her father on the shoulder. Before she knew it, noon had come and gone. After Asar prayers, they wrapped up and headed home to the rest before coming back after Maghrib. But before she left, Ati's eyes lingered for a moment on Damang Saduri, standing in the center of the man, straight and compass, like the whole field was his. Something about how he stood made her pause. Only for a second, then she kept moving. That night, the field felt alive in a different way. Fairy lights stretched all the way down the road. The sound of zikr drifted from the speakers. Long carpets were laid out, men on one side and women on the other. Damang Saduri and the village elders took their seats on the small stage, and the ceremony began with prayer. An hour in, Damang closed with a speech. His voice was steady and hurried, the voice of a man who had stood at this podium many times before.
This river gives us life, and in return, we protect what this river has entrusted to us, including Tumbang Tangkai, which has stood long before any of us were born and will keep standing long after we're gone. Not to be approached, not to be disturbed, but to be respected.
The crowd applauded, warm and genuine, and Ati applauded too, because at that point she still believed he meant every word. After the ceremony, as she held handout food, she found her mother filling a square basket with leftovers like bubur ashura, serabi, and fruit.
What's that for, Mom? Damang said the leftover food goes to the keeper at the tumbang.
Ati didn't think much of it. A kefir at the tumbang? Fine. Perhaps that was just how things were done. She didn't know yet that there was no kefir, not the kind her mother meant. 2 days after the Tolak Bala, life returned to its usual pace. Then one afternoon, Ati's phone buzzed. One message from Adi.
The M.Ed looks Sampuraga, waiting for the ferry, cruising soon.
She read it twice, then 3 times. Adi, here, right now? She typed back fast.
Huh? For real? Why didn't you say something earlier? Surprise!
Without thinking twice, she jumped up, grabbed her sandals, and was already half jogging to the dock before she remembered to holler toward the kitchen that she was leaving. Adi was already there when she arrived, small suitcase beside him, backpack on his back, plain white t-shirt and jeans, very city, very out of place against the river and wood smell of the dock. His eyes found her, and he waved.
Coming all the way here without a heads up? I told you, surprise! You're something else, Dee.
He laughed, and she couldn't help laughing too. That was the thing about Adi. He always made it impossible to stay campus for long. That afternoon, Ati took Adi around the village on her father's kalotop. He sat up front, eyes taking in everything, the trees along the riverbank, the stilt houses, and the afternoon sky slowly turning orange in the west.
Your village is beautiful, Dee, he said softly. Just as beautiful as you.
And then she gave his hand a small pinch.
Such a letter.
And then they rounded the bend and Tumbang Tangkai came into view. A cluster of ancient trees on a small patch of land which between 2 bends of the river. Golden yellow clouds tied to some of the trunks. The area around it eerily quiet.
What's that?
Adi asked.
Tumbang Tangkai, a sacred spot. We're not allowed to go near it. Why? According to Damang, it's the territory of the jinn who live in the river. Anyone who goes in risks getting pulled into the spirit world.
Adi went quiet, and then...
Pulled in by jinn? We live in a world with GPS and Wi-Fi, and if no one's allowed in, who put up those yellow clouds? The jinn themselves.
He reached for his phone.
Look over here. Jeez.
He snapped a photo of the 2 of them. Tumbang Tangkai visible in the background. Neither of them said anything more about it. And then, that evening, Adi met with Ati's parents, and nearly an hour later, her mother opened the bedroom door.
Adi says he came here to propose to you. And Abah?
Her mother smiled, not holding it back this time.
Your Abah says he's a good man.
2 days later, the Bantarjuran was held. The house was suddenly full of chatter, the smell of food, and distant relatives coming to help. Also, Lamyang showed up in the morning already wearing her apron. That evening, Adi arrived in a blue batik kemeja. His family joined from Palangkaraya via laptop and speaker. After a few rounds of discussion led by Ulak Ruslan, they settled on 70 million rupiah, and both families nodded. That night, after the guests had left, Adi sat on the porch with her father, and Adi brought them both warm tea and listened to them talk, like the price of rattan, road conditions, and the weather on Palangkaraya. Her father laughed a few times, and Adi listened patiently. There was something about watching the two of them like that, easy with each other, that made something in Adi's chest feel full. One more month, she thought. And the next morning, Adi's phone rang. When he came back inside, his face was carrying something she couldn't quite read.
Something urgent come up in Palangkaraya. I have to head back tomorrow morning.
Her mother calmly went back to folding clothes and said,
We'll see each other when the wedding prep starts.
And that night on the bark porch, Adi and Ati sat passing the river.
I'm still curious about that Tumbang Tangkai. I wanna stop by before I leave. Adi, don't. Why? I just want to take a quick look. I said don't.
And then she looked at him straight.
Not because I believe about jinn, but it's a customary rule and we have to respect it, Adi.
Adi went quiet and then nodded slowly.
Okay, I promise.
The next morning, Jenta took Adi to the crossing. The river was thin with morning mist. Adi stood at the dock and watched the ferry move slowly away. Adi turned once and waved. She waved back. Then the ferry disappeared around the bend. The first day felt normal. That night, Ati sent Adi a message. No reply. And then day 2, still nothing. Day 3, she reached out to Reza, one of Adi's housemates.
Haven't seen him, T. His room still look from the outside.
After no, Adi hadn't reached Palangkaraya, she ran through every reasonable explanation she could think of. But every night, when her screen stayed dark, the leaves fell apart piece by piece. And finally, she called Uma Adi, his mother.
Adi hasn't been in touch with us either, not since he told us he was heading to your village.
The world felt like it had stopped. Adi had left from here, and Jenta had taken him to the crossing. And after that, nothing. That night, she couldn't sleep. She accidentally knocked a photo album from between the books. It fell over on the floor. The first photo, Ati and Adi on the color dock, laughing, and in the background, like golden yellow clouds swaying between ancient trees. Tumbang Tangkai. And the night before he left, Adi had said he was curious. She had told him not to go, and he said okay. He promised, but Adi was also the one who had said laughing. Taken by Jin, T, we live in an age of GPS. And then she set the album down. Tomorrow morning, she was going to find Jenta. Jenta was at the dock when she got there.
On the way,
He said slowly.
He asked me to stop at the Tumbang. I told him no, but he's not listening to me. Instead, he offered me a tip if I'd wait in the kalotok.
And then Jinta covered his face with both hands.
I was an idiot. I went along with it. Then what? I waited 1 hour, 2 hours. He didn't come out. Then Bagao and Damang came past. Bagao asked what I was doing there. I told them everything. Damang told me to go home, said they handle it, and get Adi safely to the crossing.
He finally looked at her.
I thought Adi was safety.
After that, Ati thanked him quietly, then turned and walked straight to Damang Saduri's house. In Damang Saduri's house, he listened without interrupting, and when she finished, he let out a long breath.
Adi was safely escorted by us to Lok Sampuraga. Maybe something came up on the journey. Pons day all the time maybe? Or signal cuts out?
He gave a thin smile.
You're worrying too much. Be patient. Get some rest, Ati.
She went home with a heavier chest than when she would arrive, because his answers were too smooth. Days passed. The house kept getting busier with wedding preparations that Ati no longer knew how to feel about, until one night she made up her mind. And that night, she untied her father's jukung and paddled out into the dark. The river felt enormous and pitch black, and from a distance, Tumbang Tangkai was already visible and closer. The low rumbling she thought was the wind turned out to be engines, muffled on purpose, but not enough. And then she went inside with the flashlight only half open, and she found a gap in the bushes and looked through. Dozens of men working under portable lamps, some digging, and some hauling hippie sacks. A mine. Inside the sacred forbidden tumbang, there is a gold mine. Her hands move on their own. Phone, camera, and shutter. Click! The flash lit up the dark.
Someone's there!
And listening that, she ran. Behind her, Bagao's voice, then Damang's said, Bagao, leave it. She kept paddling until the lights of the houses came into view. Her parents walked to the back door being thrown open, and then Ati talked fast like about the engines, the lamps, the men, and also Damang and Bagao standing in the middle of all of it. And then Abah went silent and then said,
Ati, you went to the Tumbang? Abah, that place isn't sacred. There's a gold mine. Enough. Go to your room.
But it was late. The neighbors had already gathered on the porch. And then Ati told them everything. But before she could finish, people said,
The jinn have already gotten to you. That's why you're seeing things.
And then quiet. With unhurried footsteps, Damang and Bagao appeared. The crowd parted. He looked at Ati with something that stung far more than anger. A pity.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know Ati, a bright girl, a good girl. But you also know what happens when someone breaks the Tumbang's prohibition. Their minds stop being clear. And on top of that, her fiancé is missing. Her wedding is hanging in the air, so it makes sense if her mind thinks unclearly. That's not true! There is a gold mine in there! And you two were there tonight!
Bagao drew a soul breath.
There's no mine, Ati. My father goes there to pray. You need to rest.
Ati turned to her father, searching for something in his face. but he stood in the doorway, past tilted slightly down. After that, they grabbed her. She fought back. She yelled that she wasn't crazy, but they held on tighter, and then her feet were in restraints, the way they do with the mat. There's space inside that pondok. Then one day, the door cracked open. Bagaw, carrying a plate of rice.
Ati, such a shame you chose Adi.
He said,
If you had chosen me, you would be happy right now, and I wouldn't have had to bury him in the tumbang. What do you mean?
and then Bagaw told it the way you would tell something ordinary. Adi had gone in too deep and had seen too much.
I pick up a rock, one hit, the body has been taken care of, and nobody is going to find it. Why? How could you?
Bagaw only smiled and then answered.
Money and power.
At the door, he stopped.
What a shame you're too smart, Ati.
He dropped his voice.
You know why this was all so easy? Because those cowards out there are more scared of breaking a rule than they are of facing the truth.
And then he shut the door and left her there. Feet still in restraints. The untouched plate of rice on the floor. And outside, the village went on as always, like callot talks on the river, someone rooster, children playing, as if nothing had happened. And that was the moment she finally understood. What had kept that village living in fear all this time wasn't Jin. And also it wasn't Tumbang Tangkai. It was the people who chose to believe in a prohibition without ever being brave enough to question whether any of it was actually true.